All right. Greetings, dear ones. Today, the date, we know it to be July 17, 2021. We're delighted to be present with you. We wanted to share this evening about, so we have some background noise. So if you would each mute, that will keep the background noise down. Yes? Do you know how to do this? Questions about how to mute? All right. All right. One person still. So we still have one person who is not muting. There, we think we have it now. Thank you so much. All right, because it gives feedback and we find it distracting. So wanted to talk about COVID and the what appears to be an uptick, a resurgence. We want to talk about some other things happening, but let's start talking about COVID because it's on a lot of people's hearts and minds right now. So as we said at the beginning of 2020, that there would be mutations and that they would come in various degrees of severity, impacting different areas in the world more strongly than others. Unfortunately, in the United States, there is so much disinformation and so much fear around the vaccine that almost 50% of your adult population is, for whatever ego reasons or whatever fear reasons, are refusing to be vaccinated. So, because of that, there is COVID was really being contained, yeah. And then the mutation, we don't know the current name, but you know it. You've read it in the news. You've heard it in the news. But there is a mutation that has come about. It originated in another country and found its way to the United States, and now it is the number one cause of COVID infection and the number one cause of COVID deaths. All of these deaths, from our point of view, were preventable because, well, the majority of them, we can't say all, but the majority of them were preventable. It is an extraordinarily unhappy thing that so few refuse to think for themselves. They refuse to take responsibility for self, giving it over to someone who appears to be an authority. And we want to point it out with a word of caution to you. We want you looking at your lives. Where do you give over responsibility to self, to an outside voice? And if you do give over to an outside voice, how much research are you doing about what they know? Are they speaking the truth as it serves all people, or are they speaking to only the piece of the truth that serves them? You're evolving, dear ones, and that evolution is you taking responsibility for what you're experiencing in a brand new way. No more blaming, no more judging, no more excuses, no more rationalization. All of them link you into fear. All of them keep your vibration tethered into a limited heartbeat, if you will. So learn from what's happening from those around you and make a different choice. If you wish to be free of COVID, then make a different choice. It's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear from your world because it's too powerful and effective of a tool. It's serving a tremendous purpose. But you must choose for yourself. If you are so fearful, then stay home. If you are sick, stay home. This idea that it's okay because COVID is a myth is a lie. COVID is real. 4+ million people, 4 million, can you hear that word? Million people have died in your world. We believe, we know your reports are different, but we believe over 800,000 Americans have died. The counts are off. Some places don't want to report COVID deaths. They don't want them to be counted because they don't want COVID to be real. They want to continue to pretend that it's a manifestation of some evil political group. No, it's a virus. Hello, it's a virus. It's not man-made. It was naturally occurring. Have men or people played with it since they discovered it? Yes. But it was deadly when it was originated. It's not a joke. It's not a game. It's real. Now, you can choose to do with this information what you choose. But hopefully you're going to be responsible enough to say, I don't want to participate in this fear and pain anymore. So in order to be free of COVID, you're going to have to make different choices. And we would suggest you start with forgiving those who refuse to believe what's right in front of them, who are so fear-bound and so unwilling to accept authority over themselves, that can't believe in equality. They say, America, but America in the past has always stood for equality. No more. No more, unless you reclaim it. Your democracy is still at risk, and COVID is one of the fulcrums for the rise or fall of your democracy. You cannot stop now. You've got to keep investing in love, compassion, forgiveness, and rising above the fear, choosing to trust that there is a way for humans and others to be free of this by trusting that there is a methodology to all of this. So become more informed, not from your news media, not from your social media. There was a very interesting statistic released recently from your White House that said a very few people, we believe the number was 35 people, are responsible for spreading more than 65% of the false news about COVID not being real, and COVID being a political tool, and COVID, don't take it seriously. And that it's more important that you stand up for your individual rights than you be burdened with any type of responsibility for your fellow man. They don't say it that way, but that's their meaning. That their value is more important than any other human that exists. My freedom to breathe on anyone I want, whatever I want, is more important than the well-being of another human. Is that love? No, that is not love. That is the exact thing that you're saying you want to be done with. You know, this idea that there's inequality in your country and in your world, yes, there's huge inequalities. Are they all based upon race? No. They're based upon the single concept that I am better than you. Yes. And the really sad thing to us, very sad thing, is that all better thans rest in a fear of being less than, a fear of not being good enough, a fear of not being worthy. Like a mask to wear, a better than to hide your truth, which is you're not good enough. So when you hear these voices and you see these people, look behind their mask. Yes. We're finding it fascinating that the vibration is shifting. In your state of California, 3 different venues have refused to hold gatherings for a large group of these really hardcore right-wing politicians. And their response is that the mean, evil hatred of the Democratic Party is the reason they're not being booked. No, that's not it at all. People don't want to engage with them. They don't want the fear that they bring. They don't want the pain that they bring. They don't want to engage with them. They're not hating them. They're just doing their best to ignore them. And that's hurting them. You don't want to play my game. No, I don't. There's humor there. If you look for it, if you find it, there's humor there. I, as a bully, should be able to poke you and make you run away from me as many times as I want. But more and more, you're stepping off the game board and saying, no, I'm not going to play this game anymore. What's going to happen to the bullies? What do you think is going to happen to the bullies? Think about that. And then the second question is, who do you think is getting COVID and who do you think is dying from COVID right now? All the people who, for whatever reasons, chose not to be vaccinated, by and large, the greater percentage of those becoming ill, becoming a burden on the medical systems, in the United States in particular, are those who felt that COVID was a joke, it was a scam, it wasn't real. They're now the ones that are engaging the disease, and now they're, for by and large, the ones who are dying of the disease. So this refusal to accept responsibility for self isn't playing out in the way that they hoped it would. Their better than is not being accepted by others. You don't have to go to war. You can't go to war with fear, because in order to go to war with fear, you have to become fearful. All you can choose to do is to choose to trust and to rise above. Rise above is words that we use to say, consciously choose to lift your vibration out of pain, out of fear, by choosing to trust that love is present, that what others are choosing serves them. However it saddens, and for us, it creates great sorrow. There's so many lives are being given over this way. So many lives that aren't going to have a full expression of the delight of the incarnation, the delight of the human experience, shutting it down so soon and in such a painful way. It generates sorrow for us. So our message to you is simple. What are you choosing? Why are you choosing it? The more people that decide to rise above fear and pain and choose to have compassion and choose to understand that what another creates is serving them, even if it triggers some less than positive feelings within you, it doesn't belong to you. By choosing to release it to the one who's creating it, trusting that it has purpose for them, allowing yourself to lift into the higher vibrations, to rise up to meet love, because it's waiting for you, dear ones. It's waiting for you. Let it comfort you. There is no positive purpose in going to war or battling or fighting with fear, because what you do when you choose that is you lower your vibration into fear itself. And that's exactly what you're hoping to avoid. How do I trust that this is going to resolve itself? Well, for you, for most of you, it already has. You've either chosen to make peace with the fear, you've either engaged with COVID or made peace with the possibility that you will engage with it. You've either chosen the vaccine or made peace with the fact that I feel my body strong enough, I don't need my immune system to be supported by the vaccine. But what you're not doing is being fearful. Oh my God, I might get it. Oh my God, everyone I know might die. Oh my God, my world will be destroyed. You're not going there. And that is part of the rise up that we're talking about. So if you want to take something away from this conversation about COVID, it's that look at the fear that is in the spaces behind the mask of the better than. Behind the mask of the better than, the fear and the pain and the not good enough that is magnetizing in the negativity and carried with it COVID and all of its negative impacts. COVID is not going to disappear from your planet, but we believe it's going to shift into something a lot like your annual, if you will, influenza. Not that flu is annual, but the idea that it becomes so dispersed, so spread throughout the population that all of you have a little bit of resistance to it, and you build up that resistance. So when it comes in a wave again, you might get a cough, you might get a sniffle, but you won't be incapacitated. You won't have to have hospital. You won't have restricted breathing or death as a result. Is anything perfect? No. The viruses are not perfect. They serve a great majority of the population, but not all of the population. There are those with immune compromised systems that cannot tolerate the vaccine. There are people that refuse to engage with that type of foreign product being put into their body. We could go off on a whole tangent in that, because then we look at what they eat and what they wear and what they breathe and what they drive. And it seems like the vaccine is so tiny compared to the other foreign objects that they're interacting with. But it's not for us to choose. It's for you to choose, each of you to choose. What are you giving authority to? Are you giving it to COVID and the virus? Are you giving it to some nameless, faceless, governmental appearing to be authority voice? Are you giving it to a scientist that may or may not be completely balanced in their information? or you somehow bringing in some inner knowing that I deserve to have a peaceful life. I deserve to have abundant health. I deserve to have a government that serves me, because that is the purpose of government, not to rule you, dear ones. Government was never intended to rule you. Your government was created to serve you. Somehow they have become your masters, because in some ways you have given that authority over to them. So in this next year, your political arena is going to become quite interesting again. Yeah. But think of it like waves. Have you ever been to the ocean and you watch a series, what an ocean-going person would call a set of waves come in? A little one, a medium one, a big one, and then a medium one, and then a small one, and then calm for a while. And then another set, small, small, medium, big, big, dropping away. The same with energetic waves, dear one. 2016 was a big wave. 2020 was a big wave. What do you anticipate for 2022 and 2024? Can you begin to believe that those waves will be smaller? That as more people have a chance to catch their breath, as more people have a chance to let go of some of the fear, that they will be making more compassionate, more community-minded, more human, spiritually based choices? That is our dream. That is our hope, that people will begin to recognize you don't want to live in this world alone, and you don't want to live in a world gone to war. You're going to have some extraordinary challenges in the next few years. You're already hearing inklings and getting some idea about climate issues. But even before you have to deal with that, you're going to have to deal with water. Your water, your drinkable clean water, is disappearing. It's going to become a huge pressure point in your world, not just in your California, but across the world. Again, here you have the same kind of choices we were just talking about in terms of COVID. If you think that you must be afraid about water, then you will know scarcity and you will know lack. If you understand that the world is meant to give you all that you need and most of what you want, you will understand that you can stay in balance and alignment and water will be available to you. After the issue with the water starts to be resolved, you're going to have issues with earth movements. You're going to have, because the earth is progressing and their vibration just as humanity is progressing, and the earth needs to shift and move a little bit. There will be an uptick in earth movement. There will be an uptick in volcanic and tectonic activity. There will be an uptick in all things having to do with earth, which includes weather patterns. Are we saying that the earth is going to be destroyed? No. Are we saying that humanity is going to be disappeared from the planet? No. We're saying that your world is changing. And the more you rise up to meet the vibration of love, which is the vibration the earth is rising up to meet, the more in alignment you will be with peaceful transition and change, because this opportunity is about expansion, not contraction, not fear. It's about expansion into an ever-expanding vibration of love. And in order to engage it, and in order to be part of it, you have to release the resistance. You have to release the ego that says, no, I don't know how this works, so I'm going to stay until I figure it out. Bye-bye. Yes, bye-bye. No, it's not a mental process. It's not figuring it out. It's dropping from the egocentric brain into the heart and choosing day by day, moment by moment, in some cases, to trust that love is present and abides with you, to trust that you are beloved of your God, not your religions. Your religions do not love you. Your religions do not serve you. They are wonderful community connection devices, but they don't tend to spread truth. Truth is meant to be discovered by an individual. It's not meant to be created over here and fed to you a piece at a time as I deem fit for you. Maybe you're strong enough to hold this, maybe you're not. No, truth is meant to be individualized and then shared. So as a community, all of you hold a piece of the truth, and when you bring it together, you have a greater truth, which leads to a greater trust, which holds an expanded love. You're meant to come together as community to resolve these issues, not to try and figure them out on your own. The whole purpose in these events is to motivate you to generate oneness. Oneness. Yes. When you pray with one voice, you're heard. When you pray with a multitude of voices, that is even louder in your heaven. Yes. Choose to co-create, dear one. We know that in order to trust the co-creation, you have to let go and enter into a vulnerability. But vulnerability is your freedom. Vulnerability is the only portal through which love enters into this three-dimensional hologram. And if you continue to resist it, to hold yourself separate, you will not be able to rise up and meet the love that's waiting for you. And you will know the tools of the 3D, your three-dimensional tools of separation, pain, and fear. They're powerful tools. They're effective tools. But aren't you ready to be done with them? Aren't you ready to begin to learn to use your new tools? Compassion, grace, forgiveness, and love itself. Yes. So, COVID is here to stay on your planet. It's not going away. If you work with forgiveness, if you work with love, if you work with trust, you'll begin to minimize it. You'll begin to disperse it because you won't need it anymore. You won't need it to be pain-filled and fear-filled to motivate you to change, because you'll be consciously choosing to change without it. It's so important right now that you begin to throw your dreams into your future, because you need to anchor into that love, into the power of that unconditional love. We're not just talking about the feel good, oh, it's so peaceful, oh, it's so pleasant. We're talking about the power of unconditional love. There is nothing, let us say that one more time. There is no thing, no person, no concept, no energy that can stand in the face of unconditional love. Throw your dreams into that pool, into that ocean of unconditional love. Even if you don't know what that means completely, trust that if I dream that my world can be at peace again, if I imagine that that's my future, if I want it, if I desire it, if I pray for it, if I plan for it, you begin to anchor into it, and that helps pull all of your world along with you. You each throw enough anchors into that bright, positive, unconditionally loving future, and the earth will move. The earth is a vibrational being. It's not a static hunk of rock resting in a sky somewhere. It has consciousness just as you do. It's a different kind of consciousness, but it is a consciousness. The earth itself has dreams and desires, just as you do. And the earth is dreaming of a more positive future. A positive future that is co-created with other consciousness that love and respect it as the earth loves and respects them. Dream of your future. Desire your future. Pray for this future. Pound the table and demand it. That too is your right. You are not subservient. You are not less than. You are the master creators in this universe. You do not fully understand your power because you have been tethered and tied to individual egoistic humans for too long. Rise up, dear ones. Love is waiting for you. Yes. You do not know how this new world works because you've never lived in it. You've never experienced it. It's going to take the proverbial leap of faith to choose it. And there are individuals already choosing it. You know some of them. They're already choosing it. They're already starting to anchor it. Follow their lead. And if you are uncertain, invite Spirit in to work with you, to help you make peace with this change, to help you find the calm and the confidence in the face of this change. Invite love to be present in your body with you, to walk this earth with you. You're not meant to do it alone. Ask for help and be willing to receive it. Everything in your future hinges upon the choices you make in this next decade. In this next decade, you will determine the future of humanity. You came here, dear ones. You chose to be human adults in this time, to be part of this choosing. You have lived thousands and thousands of lifetimes. You came into this one with the intent and purpose to be part of this choosing. Remember who you are, and remember why you came, and remember the power and importance of your choice. What do you choose? And why do you choose it? And how do you feed it with love and light to make it manifest more quickly, more strongly in your now? Everything hinges on what you choose. That is our sharing for today, and we are grateful for the opportunity to speak it. And so we open now for your questions, your comments, your concerns, and we ask you who would speak.